It's May 14, 2021. This is episode 186. Is it okay to lease a car in this market? It's the 39.6 Facebook and YouTube live finance show. The show that teaches high earners like yourselves how to make your money work for you so you don't have to work for your money. We talk general investing, taxes, real estate, syndications, Airbnb, paying for college, paying for childcare, and even the car you drive. Today, another car episode. Sorry, it's been a while. We closed on a house 7 days ago. And I was going to do an episode on that, but taking a break from that for a little bit. Maybe I'll discuss it tomorrow. That last week going up to closing was pretty stressful. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. But we'll get back to that. Let's talk cars. I've been talking about cars a lot recently on Facebook groups. We've been on the market for a car. My nanny's in the market for a car because she banged up her car and that was totaled. So that's another discussion, another day. But yeah, so we're looking for another car. And it is crazy, the car market. People talk about the real estate market. The car market is also nuts. There is a shortage of supply, and supply chains are all backed up, and there's just limited cars, new cars, used cars, all cars. And so the market's really tight for cars right now. There's a question from another Facebook group. What do you think of leasing a car for a couple of years until the chip shortage is resolved? My husband and I both have 15-year-old cars, but his is on its last leg. Cars have wheels, but okay. And we need something safe for our two toddlers. Can relate. With cars being so expensive to buy, what would be the disadvantage of leasing for now? We're normally against leasing, but these are not normal times. We're specifically looking for hybrid SUVs or minivans. Are okay with gently used or new, depending on the price difference if we end up buying. We are in California. Okay. So, yeah, cars are expensive right now. First of all, you have two toddlers and you have 15-year-old cars. There is like no more important time of your entire life to have a safe vehicle than when you have two toddlers. Okay, we have two toddlers also, 4 and 2, almost 4, and recently 2, and one that's negative 0.1 right now, coming soon. So we'll have 3 toddlers, all rear facing. You should have actually the American Academy of Pediatrics, I think the AAP, recommends rear facing now until age 4, ideally. Minimum is age 2, but ideally age 4. And so we're going to actually have 3 rear facing kids in not too long. Why is it so important? Not just because, you know, you're carrying other people, yes, but they are not musculoskeletally mature. Okay. And so when an infant is in an accident, it is not the same as an adult being in an accident. Okay. Infants have big heads in comparison to their bodies, right? They don't have all the muscles. When they're rear facing as infants, they're relatively flat because they can't hold their head up. Okay. They're rear facing, which helps decrease a lot of the risk of head, neck injuries in babies and toddlers. So having a car that A, decreases the likelihood that you do get in an accident, and B, decreases the risk of injury to you and any passengers if you are in an accident, are so important. It is more important now with young kids than it otherwise ever would be. Okay. Now, wanting to have, I've done multiple episodes on this. Bigger cars in general are safer if you're in a multi-vehicle collision. You're in California. I don't know, over here in Texas, everybody's driving SUVs and trucks. So I don't really want my kids going in anything smaller than at least an SUV. And our Outback is our smallest car, which is like a wagon. It's actually reasonably good sized, but our van and our Sun are their bigger vehicles. Now, going back to the question, so you have these two 15-year-old cars. They're not going to have automatic emergency braking. Okay, that's probably actually the most valuable preventive mechanism for collisions is automatic emergency braking. And this is going to become standard like on all vehicles, but right now I don't think it quite is yet. A lot of cars in the past few years have added this on. 15-year-old car would not have that. We have a 2008 car, definitely does not have that. And actually our 2017 Pacifica does not have it. And that was a mistake getting that car without adaptive cruise control and automatic braking. I didn't know about all this stuff at the time. We actually got it before we even had kids. Okay, and it was not that common on Pacificas minivans when we got them. So anyhow, having a vehicle with automatic emergency braking is the car seat lady, who's a pediatrician, she'll say is the most important thing you can have. Okay, so that is a definite. Okay, SUV or minivan, fine, good. You want to have something that has some size. Now, then buying it or leasing it. Now, a lot of people in the finance space are anti-lease, and that actually, it drives me nuts. I understand leasing is relatively expensive because you are paying usually like a higher interest rate than you otherwise would if you were like buying it yourself. But leasing offers a lot of benefits. One is you can write off the entire cost of the lease if it's business use, right? You don't have to depreciate it. If you're 100% business use, you can write off 100% of the car lease payments, okay? And with no limitation. If you're using a car 50% for business use, you could write off 50% the cost of the lease, actual costs, okay? So from a bookkeeping standpoint, it's often a lot easier to do leasing rather than purchasing when it comes to vehicles because you don't have to take depreciation. Although sometimes you want to depreciate because you're doing bonus depreciation, that's a different story. As if it's more than 6,000 pounds. But if it's less than 6,000 pounds, you're not taking bonus depreciation on that vehicle. Leasing is a very nice way to own a vehicle if you are using it for business use. Okay, let's pretend you're not using it for business use. That's fine. Other benefits of leasing. Well, a lot of these safety features are getting rolled out more and more and more in the next handful of years. They're going to become more and more available on like regular base model options and going to become required, like seat belts became required and airbags became required. All right. So 3 years from now, there will likely be more safety features available on more vehicles than there are right now. So even if you were to buy a car now, 3 years from now, you might not want that car because you might want to have more safety features for your 2 toddlers who are now a little bit bigger, but maybe there's a 3rd toddler and maybe you're driving other kids around and you just in general want to have the safest car, right? Or a very safe car. Okay, so it gives you an automatic exit without having to pay a huge amount in case the value goes down a lot. So for example, a vehicle could go down 50% over the next 3 years in value, but when you lease a car, you have a known residual value. So that known residual value could be, let's say, 60%. Okay, so based on that price, you actually, it depreciated more than it was planned to have depreciated. So you can just like walk away from it and give it back to the dealership. Pay the usually like $400 to return it. And that's fine. If you had bought that car, you would have lost more money because there was more depreciation than you had expected or that the dealer had expected when they came up with the residual value on the lease. So a lease actually can save you a lot of money if the car depreciates faster than it was expected to. Okay. Now, the alternative is let's pretend it depreciates a lot less than it was expected to. Okay, well, you can buy out the lease and you can keep the car. And so now you have a car and you get to keep most of that equity that you otherwise would have lost trading it in. Okay, now, if you own a car and you decide to change in 3 years anyway and you had bought it, you're going to lose money on that transaction. When you trade in a vehicle, you are not getting retail price on the trade-in. There's going to be a mark down for the trade-in value because of the convenience that you get to trade it in because they're going to have to turn around and sell it, find a buyer, and make money on it. So they're not going to trade it back in and get it back from you without being able to make money on that vehicle. There's also the benefit if you're in a state like Texas, where I am, when you trade in a vehicle, you don't have to pay the sales tax on the price of that trade-in. So let's pretend you trade in a vehicle for $10,000 and you buy a $20,000 car. You don't have to pay sales tax on the $20,000 car. You only pay sales tax on $20,000 minus $10,000 equals $10,000. Okay, so that saves you like $600 or $800, whatever the sales tax is in your state. So that is one of the benefits here to trading in, because you don't have to pay sales tax on the entire purchase price. So that's something to consider when you're considering the ease of just trading in a vehicle. But if you had a leased car, you can just return it, pay the few $100, and you're good. Okay, you don't have to worry about that that bid-ask kind of a spread between trade-in value and retail value. Now, in particular with the current market, one of the biggest benefits of leasing is like there are lease specials. I always look at whatever the lease specials are that are out there. Now, they usually only apply to like the base model vehicle. And a lot of times the base model vehicle does not have the things you're looking for. A lot of the safety features don't come on the base model. So that's something to look at, okay? Because that's often where the best prices are, leases. But I often look, I'll type of like best SUV lease deals for whatever, the month of May. And I'll find whatever those prices are. And what's nice about it is if you have a participating dealership, they have to honor those prices. You are getting it at the advertised price. Now, a lot of people might say, what's the big deal about that? Well, that is a manufacturer lease price. A lot of cars are selling, if you're just buying it from the dealership, they're selling cars at a markup, especially the cars that are popular. I was looking at a Kia Carnival right now, which we're looking at as another vehicle for our car, our fleet here. Although it doesn't have all-wheel drive, it does not have hybrid or electric. Those are the big downsides, similar to, those are the big downsides. I really wish it had all-wheel drive. Sienna has all-wheel drive. Pacifica now has all-wheel drive on one of their versions, but I'm hopeful that the Carnival actually will allow us to do 3 rear-facing very easily, because those seats actually turn around. But I'm yet to actually see a vehicle and test this out and see how it would work. But yeah, all these dealerships, and not all of them, but a lot of them are selling at substantial markups. I talked to one just a few minutes ago, and they're selling it at $5,000 markup, but they're including a ceramic coating on the car, which they're charging $2,000 for the ceramic and $3,000 for the $3,000 market adjustment. Dealers, and that's a dealership that's 2 hours outside of the city. Right here in Dallas, and there's one, they're selling $8,000 markups. I mean, crazy, right? Because there's so little supply, and anything that comes in is already sold unless they mark it up to a substantially higher price. And so my point is, the cars that they're selling new, I mean, they pretty much can sell these at whatever price they want to. They add on all these other fees and whatnot. When you're getting a lease, that's the lease price. I mean, the same thing if the manufacturer is having a quote unquote sale price on something, then yeah, they have to honor those prices, right? They can't mark those things up. But the market value of like a used car right now is so high that the delta between a new car and a gently used car is like non-existent. For example, our 2019 Ascent that I bought last summer, CPO, bought it at like $24,000. No, sorry, that was bought at like $28,000. That same car is selling at that price or more at a lot of places right now. Like people are listing them at $30,000 with more miles than we have on ours. Okay, that we bought that car in August. Our 2017 Pacifica, I think we paid $25,000 about for that car, and that was a year old. We bought it at the end of 2017. That same model selling for about the same price online, around $22,000. I went to Carvana's webpage and just typed in the specs of the car to see what the cash offer would be. And it's like $20,000. And we bought this car almost 4 years ago. It was 3.5 years ago. So basically has depreciated nearly zero. Okay. And then there's our Subaru Outback, our 2008 Outback that my wife bought in med school and paid off in residency that I'm driving to work these days. That's definitely worth more now than it was last year. People are selling them retail for like $7,000 right now. And yeah, that's definitely more than we would have gotten or the market was bearing a year ago. So my point is, with all these used car prices getting pushed up, I mean, new car MSRPs, those have not changed. It's just that the supply has gone down. Now, it might be that the MSRP will change, but usually we don't see that. They kind of announce their MSRP for the model, and that is that for the whole year. It doesn't usually change. It's kind of like a constant. And so if you can get a car at that price at MSRP, okay, or if you can get a lease based on an advertised lease like special, not just going into the dealership and then you tell them what you want and then they find a car and then they make up a lease price for you based on what payments you want and all the BS they do. Like take something that has a listed actual like promotion. So that price is the price. They honor the price. You're done. So I really think it's perfectly fine to lease a car. Okay. It's a car. It's for transportation, and it's not just transportation for yourself, it's transportation for your kids. If you think about the value of all of the living bodies in there and the quality of life years in that vehicle, you have 2 toddlers and let's say 1 adult. So each toddler is going to live, let's say, an average 80 more years. And then you as an adult might live another, let's say 50 more years. So that's 200 plus life years or quality of life years. Qualities? Yeah. Over 200 in that vehicle. Okay. And those young kids are particularly sensitive if you get into a crash, right? They can definitely get hurt. So spend the money. Get the car that you need. I see these posts about, spending basically nothing on your car. That may seem financially great on paper, but there's nothing financially more important than taking care of the safety of your family. Nothing. So go ahead. You can lease, but get the car that will take care of your kids, take care of you. 10 years from now, whatever the difference would have been if you're trying to save money between one thing and another, it will have no bearing on this one decision you make. There's so many other decisions you can make to save money. Make those. But taking care of your family, that's the most money that you can save. That's literally worth millions of dollars right there. So don't scrimp on your kiddos and yourself. All right. That's it for tonight. Episode 186. Yeah, 186. Okay. We got to get up to 200. I got to catch up on episodes. Post your questions in the Facebook group, please. And try to get to another one tomorrow. All right. Have a good night. Have a great weekend.